Hey everybody, Chris Shaffer of Pautzke Outdoors. Today I'm here with Mike Wickizer, and you know what? He's been with us almost 6 months on the road. We've bounced from state to state to state. One common question we get, whether we're on the stream, whether it's on social media, or whether we get an email, is, hey, I've never fished salmon eggs before. How do I fish salmon eggs? So what we're going to do is we're going to dissect the important parts of your rigging, of your different gear, and how to set up properly for fishing salmon eggs. Ironically, we get emails all the time and say, hey guys, your eggs don't work. Well, they do work. We've sold 95 million jars of salmon eggs for a reason. They're the best salmon eggs on the market. But if you don't have the proper gear and you're not set up properly, you may not catch any fish. Now, we're going to go through with Mike, go through each section of salmon egg fishing, show you guys how to do it. One thing I want you to know, we don't endorse any of these companies. This is just stuff we found in our tackle box. The companies, there's a million companies out there that sell this stuff. Whatever you like and works for you is great. We're just going to show you the sizes you need to be successful. Okay, there's a lot of important components when it comes to fishing with salmon eggs. Now we're going to start with the rod. Now, what's important to you when choosing a rod for salmon egg fishing?
Well, the most important to me is the length of the rod, you know. A lot of times I mostly fish a little bit bigger streams, and smaller streams you can get away with it too. So when I go in there, I always look for a light power rod, anywhere from a 6 to 7 foot rod. You know, that's mostly the key for me, is that little bit longer rod. I'm used to those longer rods. Plus, you know, it gives you a little better fight with these lighter rods and longer rods. And that's what I look for, is, like I said, those 6 to 7 foot rods, light power.
Now, we run into hundreds, if not thousands, of anglers on the water, and the one most common mistake we get is fishing line. A lot of guys are out there with 12-pound tests, 10-pound tests, and they're not being successful, even with the world's best salmon eggs. Because why, Mike? And what do you need to do to be successful?
Well, I tell you what, when I go for trout, I always use 2 to 4 pound tests, mostly 4 all year. That's what I get away with, you know. That heavy line, those fish can see that line. And, you know, even people will say, oh, I use 4-pound tests, but they're using high vis line, you know. You want to use something that's clear, even though it's not fluorocarbon, monofilament does the deed, you know. But you want to go clear or smoky color so those fish don't see that line coming down through the creek. But like I said, I can't stress enough about that. A little bit lighter line, anywhere from 2 to 4. I mostly run just 4 all year and have a really good success ratio of catching trout on 4-pound tests.
Now, we're going to go over exactly how to tie up leaders. We're going to go over exactly how to tie right onto your hook. But remember, there's important components. One is 2 or 4-pound test. You know, if you're out there with heavy line, you may not be successful catching fish. Now, if the water's chocolate mud or murky, things change. And if the water's chocolate or murky, you're probably not going to be catching trout anyway. So most of the time, you're going to be fishing low and clear water, or you're going to be fishing a stream that's slightly off-colored. 2 and 4-pound test is vital when fishing for trout. Now, in most of our videos, you guys are going to see us use a float. That's for several reasons. One, we can control what that egg does. When you have a float, it keeps it off the bottom. When you don't have a float, what happens?
You know, you get snagged a lot. I'm not saying you won't catch fish that way, but, you know, this float is actually an ideal key to catching a lot of fish and getting that first initial strike. You know, you can watch them tap it, and, you know, firstly sinking it. But like I said, you save a lot more gear this way. You don't get snagged as much, don't lose as much hooks, you know, and hey, especially if you're releasing fish, it's key, because most of the time, you know, I'm going to say 89% of the time, that fish is hooked right there in the lip, in the top of the draw, and nice easy release to let that fish go and let other people catch them.
Now, we're going to go over exactly how to rig a float. Now remember, there are dozens of different kinds of floats that are out there. These, we believe, are good floats. One, because they're sturdy, they float straight up and down. A lot of times if you have a red and white bobber, the way it hits the water, and it's a big one, makes a huge splash. We're not trying to do that. We're trying to stay stealthy. We're trying to create, basically have a beautiful float where that egg is floating naturally down the system. We're going to stop here and go over exactly how to rig these floats.
Alright, we're going to go a little more in depth about floats. You know, there's a variety of floats out there. I preferably like anything from a 1.2 to about a 4.4 gram float, you know, and I like fixed floats. So as you see, this little float right here has 2 little silicone stops on it. So what you do is you take the silicone stops, as you see, they got a hole in the middle of them, right there. You slide them right up your line. First one, second one. And what that does is that pegs your float on your main line there. So you can actually, you know, I run a lot of mono, especially for stock trout. They're not too picky. So what I'll do is, depending on the depth of your hole, you know, I like to run on my egg pretty close to the bottom, within, you know, 4 or 5 inches from the bottom. But what I'll do is I'll peg this float just like this, and then I will, you know, depending on my hole, if my hole's about 3 foot, I'll set my float right around 3 foot. So then what I'll do is I'll grab a couple bigger split shots here. You know, nothing too fancy. These are probably, actually, what are they? BBs, I believe they are. And I'll take, you know, what you want to do is kind of match your float. You want that float to stand straight up and down. You don't want it dragging. You don't want it underneath the water. So what I'll do is I'll take one of these here and just peg it right down on your line right there. And then what I'll do is I'll take another one. For they're about this size, usually like a 3-gram float, I'll put 2 of these BBs up towards the float. Keep them pretty close together. And then what I'll do is I'll jump down to a smaller size. And then what I do is I space those down my line a little bit, about 2-3 inches apart. And then I keep it about 18 inches away from my hook. You know, I like to leave a good distance between my hook. And then what that does is it keeps that bobber straight up and down and keeps that egg floating in front of it. And it's giving it that natural presentation as it rolls down the creek. You know, it's giving it that first sight. They don't see your split shots or nothing. That egg's right in their face. And hey, like I said, you get that first strike. Bobber goes down, usually hooked right in the lip or right in the top of the mouth, and easy release.
All right, so one of the most important things we have when we're talking about fishing with salmon eggs is hook size. And to be honest, this is another thing that a lot of people struggle with. You know, you don't want to go buy a size 4 hook that is 5 times the size of your salmon egg. You know, and there's a lot of companies out there that make really good hooks. You know, you have Eagle Claw, you have Gamakatsu, you have Owner, you have Mustad, not to mention dozens of others that are out there. Now, it's not so much the hook or the company as the size. Now, what do you prefer when you're fishing salmon eggs?
Honestly, what I prefer to fish salmon eggs is anywhere from a size 10 to a 14. Yes, 14s are real hard to find, and you don't have to use a 14. You know, sometimes downsizing to a 14, you'll catch a little more fish because you can hide one single egg into it. But anywhere from a size 10 or 12 is mainly what I run. You know, I like running size 12s. These here are Gamakatsu size 12 egg hooks here. And like I said, you know, we got our 4-pound test here. I'll show you an easy knot to tie up. You know, a simple knot that I always use here, you got your 4-pound test, and you got the eyelid of that hook. Stick it through that eyelid. Now what I'll do is I'll take this here, you stuck that through, stick it up probably about 5-6 inches. Then what I do here is pinch it off. Leave a little bit of a tag in there. And what I'll do is, you know, some people say 10, 12 wraps. I just like to twist it down. And what you'll see is a little loop right above your eyelid there. You see that little loop? Take that tag end that's in your pinched hand, go back through that loop, and I'll grab that tagged end and just work it right down. And give yourself a nice solid knot, and I give it a couple tugs to make sure it's solid. Clip that tag end off and you're ready to go. Like I said, size 12, that knot, you know, it's a deadly method right there.
All right, now we filmed in probably, I don't know, 30 out of the 50 states in North America. We've been pretty busy for the last 10 years. However, every state has a different favorite egg. It's pretty crazy. Some eggs, you know, some states, they only use red eggs. Pennsylvania is really not that way. Pennsylvania is probably 3 or 4 of real popular eggs. What are your 3 most favorite eggs, and why do you like these eggs?
Honestly, my 3 go-to that I always keep in my bag is always a natural deluxe, a pink shrimp, and silver label. And I tell you what, you know, like I said, our state, you catch them on a lot of different eggs, you know, a lot of different colors, but these 3 are the most effective. You know, I always start out throwing natural deluxe, and hey, if I don't catch a lot of fish on that, I switch up to pink shrimp. You know, just give them something different. Some days pink shrimp's hot, naturals, you know, a little bit slow. And then, like I said, you can't always count out a little bit of silver label. You got to have it in your bag, I tell you what. Because, you know, days they won't touch any of these 2 colors, and you throw a silver label out there, and it's like almost every cast.
Now, one of the things you got to remember, there's a reason why we call natural deluxe natural deluxe.
Yep.
Because that's what eggs look like when they're floating down the system. Say you have a brown trout or a rainbow trout or a brook trout, and they're spawning, the eggs are going to look pretty much that color.
Pretty
now,
much, yeah.
You got to remember something, guys. We, as in Pautzke Bait Company, decided to dye eggs red and pink and other colors because people like those colors. But the natural colors often work even better. Now, the one thing you have to remember, in Pennsylvania, the #1 color selling egg is pink shrimp.
Pink shrimp.
Everybody uses pink in Pennsylvania. Reason why? it works.
Hey, it works.
Whether it's us or our competitors' eggs, pink works. Now we're going to show you how to hook these eggs on the hook. You'd be so surprised how many people come out here and go, your egg doesn't stay on the hook. If you don't hook it right, this might be the most simple thing in the world, but a lot of people, they put too many eggs on the hook, or they have the wrong size hook. We're going to go over showing you how to put these eggs on the hook.
Alright, here's my go-to egg here, you know. This is always in my bag, and I always have a few of these jars in my bag. A little bit of natural Deluxe, and I tell you what, you'll see why I like these eggs. Just take a look at that natural color, looking exactly like a trout egg, salmon egg, you know. Nice and firm egg, size 12 egg hook. You know, a lot of people make that mistake of using those real big hooks, or they put too many eggs on a hook, and that's why they fall off. So I just take a single egg, pierce it through the middle, and I like to slide this egg up towards that eyelid, and then I take that eyelid and just sink it down in there, and that's how I get my eggs to hold on the hook really well for quite a dozen drifts, and that's how I catch a lot of fish that way. Alright, we'll move on to my second favorite here. You know, it's the best seller here in Pennsylvania, pink shrimp. You know, there's a lot of egg companies out there that have pink shrimp eggs. You know, I tell you why I like these ones here. You'll see as soon as I open this jar. You know, back to that small profile, real salmon egg look, smell like a real salmon egg, and stay on the hook just as good. Like I said, that little bit smaller profile always does me good. That same size 12 Gamakatsu, nice firm pink shrimp egg, straight down the middle, around your hook, and then I suck it up to that eyelid right there. And like I said, I pop that eyelid right inside that egg, and it just seems to hold that egg a little bit better and get, you know, quite a few more drifts out of it. Alright, we're going to the old reliable silver label here. You know, you can never leave the house without them. You know, I don't know what it is, but maybe it's that red egg, maybe it's that little bit of glitter that's giving them that attracting, you know. Just that same small egg profile, single egg, a little bit of glitter on there, and that famous red, you know. Same thing, slide it on that size 12 Gamakatsu, slide it up on that eyelid, suck that eyelid in, and hey, that could be a real deadly egg on certain days. Here in Pennsylvania, a lot of people don't fish bobbers. They don't like bobbers, and I'm going to go the old school way, as we always call it, bottom fishing. So, you know, depending on the depth of your water and the hole that you're fishing, it all depends on the weight selection, you know. Just a couple small split shots. I'll just stick one on the line just for now. And what I do is I like to keep it about 18 inches away from my size 12 hook. And, you know, bottom fishing eggs isn't really key to doing it. You'll get snagged a lot more, and, you know, you'll have fish swallow the hook. But, you know, when I fish eggs on the bottom bounce them, I like to fish a little bit of current. I don't like dead still water, you know. It's just like that egg moving and bouncing down the current a little bit, and that's how I catch a lot of fish on the bottom too. You know, sometimes they won't hit the float, but, you know, it can be a very effective way to catch fish on the bottom. And like I said, you know, it's not ideal for me to catch fish this way, but sometimes you got to do it, and, you know, sometimes this is just old tradition how a lot of people fish eggs.
Pautzke products are available at sporting goods stores near you. If you can't find the specific color, size that you want, make sure to go to Pautzke.com. And as a thank you for watching Pautzke Outdoors, we're going to show you a coupon code to be used for 10% off your next order.